you for that incredibly kind introduction, and I promise to come back next time with my daughter, because I know she would love to have the service as well, and she speaks Hebrew, so it would be wonderful to have her join me. It's so great to have our Manhattan Borough President, Brad Hoyman-Siegel, here. We were fellow community board chairs when he chaired Board 2 in Lower Manhattan and I chaired Board 1, so we have partnered for a very long time. And Rabbi Kleinman, thank you so much for your friendship, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Rabbi. I really appreciate being here. This is, and I don't need to tell all of you, a very difficult time for the Jewish community. And when I was running for speaker, many people said to me, well, are you sure you could win because you're Jewish? And when I thought about that, I said, well, what does that mean? Could I win because I'm Jewish? Why couldn't I win because I'm Jewish? What does being Jewish have to do with my ability to be speaker or not be speaker? And so I'm really honored with the fact that I was unanimously elected by my colleagues in January to be speaker. And yes, I am the first Jewish speaker in the New York City Council history. One of the things that I've really tried to focus on is combating anti-Semitism. I know when I was walking in here, looking at the security that all of you have, that you have to go through every time you come in here to worship, to gather, to congregate, it's really unacceptable, the idea that we need this level of security as Jews. So in terms of fighting anti-Semitism, in January, I announced our 5-point plan to combat anti-Semitism. And we're doing a number of different things. We have a bill that creates a hotline at the Human Rights Commission to report hate crimes. So hate crimes that are anti-Semitic, hate crimes that are Islamophobic, hate crimes that affect the LGBTQIA+ community. All of those hate crimes can be reported to this new hotline. Because studies show that if you are the victim of a hate crime, but particularly an anti-Semitic hate crime, people are not reporting them. They're underreported. Right now, with hate crimes, 53% of all hate crimes in New York City are against the Jewish community. 53%, yet we're 12% of the population in New York City. And that's underreported because so many people are afraid to report them. I also launched a program where we're bringing every 8th grade public school student to the Museum of Jewish Heritage to the Permanent Holocaust exhibition. And I think that's so important. My mother survived the Holocaust with my grandmother by hiding in a cellar for a year in Budapest. My grandfather was killed in the Holocaust simply because he was born Jewish. And that story is like so many other stories. My grandmother was part of the Shoah series, so I have hours of footage of her harrowing tale that I am able to share with my children. That is a gift that we have. But for so many survivors, their story is lost. And that is why the Museum of Jewish Heritage in Battery Park City is so important. And it's why we are bringing every 8th grade student to the Holocaust exhibition. Because studies are showing that 34% of young people in New York City believe the Holocaust is a myth or is exaggerated, a myth. So 34% believe that 6 million Jews were not slaughtered, or that we exaggerated that 6 million Jews were slaughtered. This is a crisis, and in my humble opinion, the best way to address this crisis is through education. It's the best antidote to hate, and so that is why we're doing that program. We also passed a bill that got a lot of attention today, so I will address it. One of the bills was my bill, which protects all houses of worship. And I just want to be clear about what the bill does and doesn't do. That bill is passed and it's going into law. It passed 44-5. And that bill says that if a congregant is trying to go into their house of worship and there is intimidation or harassment or injury, then and only then there will be a safe access perimeter. If it is a peaceful protest, then there should be no perimeter. This is just common sense. I don't think this is that difficult to understand. And so that bill protects all houses of worship. It protects mosques. It protects synagogues. It protects churches, which is why there were so many interfaith leaders across the city who came out. Now, there is another bill that is a subject of a lot of discussion today, so I feel I should address it, and that is my colleague's bill, Councilmember Eric Dinowitz's bill. His bill is identical to the House of Worship bill, except for it applies to schools. And in terms of applying to schools, again, if there's a peaceful protest, of course there should be no perimeter. The right to peacefully protest is sacrosanct. I've been a lawyer and I served in a very senior role at the city law department. We should never interfere with the right to protest. What the bill does say is it says that if there is intimidation or harassment or injury as a student is trying to enter the classroom or exiting, then it requires a safe access perimeter. And to me, this is a police accountability bill. It requires the NYPD to make this safe access plan public, which I think we should all agree is a good thing because it creates more transparency and accountability around what the NYPD is doing. So I'm proud of those bills. They're part of the package. They did get a lot of attention today. So we'll see what happens the next few weeks, but I look forward to discussing that further with my colleagues. And I do just want to mention that we in the New York City Council, we have a vibrant LGBTQIA+ caucus that I'm really proud of. I was able to, for the first time ever, give the caucus an executive director. Formerly, they never had an executive director. They actually had no staff, which it's very hard to do your work as a caucus if you have no staff. So I'm very proud that we were able to do that, and I think that that caucus is going to do some phenomenal work moving forward. And then lastly, and I'll close on this note, since it's Shabbat and it's the opportunity to reflect on this week, for us, this was a very important week. I mentioned the issues that impacted the Jewish community, but we're also focused on affordability and this affordability crisis. So today, we made a very big announcement on something very small. We mapped out 2,850 small lots across the city. When you walk down a street and you see a dilapidated, overgrown lot, there's lots of weeds in it and oftentimes rats, let's be real, we can develop those lots into affordable housing. So I released a plan today that shows that those 2,850 lots, we could develop 35,000 units of housing around the city by making minor changes to the building code to allow development on those small lots and to go from 6 stories, where they're capped now, to 8 stories, which allow them to be financially viable and would allow us to really move forward with building thousands of units of affordable housing. So we released our small lots proposal today. So big news on the small lots. So I'll just end with the fact that it's an honor to be with all of you today. When you invited me here, I was really honored because I knew this was probably going to be a big day for the Jewish community. We were expecting a veto. And so it's really wonderful to be with all of you, no matter where one stands on any of these issues. I think collectively we can hopefully all agree that we need to combat anti-Semitism in all its forms. We need to stand up for inclusion and tolerance. And please know you have an incredibly strong ally in me. So Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.